Welcome back to American Agenda. What happened to the conversation about the policies of the Biden-Harris administration? I think it's a valid question. Their record on so many issues gone wrong: inflation, the border, foreign policies, wars breaking out all over the world, and the cover-up of Biden's mental health. The list goes on. In fact, it was so bad, Joe Biden got removed from the Democrat ticket in a last-ditch effort by Democrats to hold office. And Kamala Harris was with him in support of every aspect and every step of the way, even after the debate.
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November. I'm talking about one of the most important elections in our collective lifetime. And do we want to look at what November will bring and go on a course for America that is about a destruction of democracy, electing a man who has said he'll be a dictator on day one? Or do we want to continue on a course that's about strengthening America's economy, building and creating 15 million American jobs, over 800,000 manufacturing jobs?
Well, that support's gone. So I have to ask, with Kamala Harris as president, what is possibly going to change? Well, let's start with the biggest issue facing Americans, according to Gallup polling back in March, and that is, without question, inflation. Now, I don't need to spit out a bunch of stats on how expensive things have become under this administration. You go buy anything, it's way more expensive than it used to be. Houses, cars, groceries, you name it. But since Harris has been named the presumptive nominee, she's not even talking about it. How about this? There's proof of it. The AP, Associated Press, tracking what she's saying about it. Not once in speeches in Wisconsin, Indiana, or Texas did she even mention the word inflation, the biggest issue. She's not even acknowledging it. At least Trump is, and I want to remind everyone, he handed their administration a 1.4% inflation rate, well under the standard of 2%. And he talked about it yesterday with the NABJ in Chicago. How does he do it? You unlock our energy sector.
Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country. And it's destroying the black community probably as much or more.
So what do you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden.
And how about the border? Harris' campaign has been focused on clarifying she wasn't the border czar. I fact-checked that last week in the White House archives. Biden put her in charge, period. That's what he did. And say, for argument's sake, though, even if she wasn't, what's her plan? Democrats continue to blame Republicans for not passing the Senate border bill, but you have to ask yourself, why did it get this bad under the Harris-Biden administration in the first place? How about dismantling pretty much everything Trump had put in place? Start there. According to the Migration Policy Institute, they logged 296 executive actions on immigration taken by the administration as of January 19, one day before Biden's first anniversary in office. The Biden-Harris administration invited what is happening and everything that has come along with it. And now it's reported that Kamala Harris supports increasing the number of Border Patrol agents. But Harris is on record saying ICE needs to start from scratch again, and crossing the border illegally shouldn't be a crime.
Raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross the border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we can see them?
You saw her there. So does she want a secure border or not? It's really hard to tell at this point. According to Gallup, the other big issues for voters, they are crime and violence. Here's what Harris' record is on that.
We have to reimagine safety and public safety in America. You know, the status quo has been to determine and create policy around the idea that more police equals more safety, and that's just wrong.
Okay, another one is affordable health care, which now Harris says she no longer supports a single-payer health care system, despite the fact during her first year in the Senate, she co-sponsored independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All legislation, which would create a government-run health insurance program and essentially end the private insurance market. So where does she really stand on that? Again, it's very hard to tell. And another big one is drug use. According to Gallup, which we know much of the drugs coming into our country get here through our very porous and open southern border. So if you're wondering what her record is on the big issues, the big ticket issues, it is there. It is called the Biden-Harris administration, which was on track to put Trump right back in the White House. Okay, joining us now to discuss is Democratic strategist and civil rights attorney Robert Patillo, and back with us here in studio, attorney and former California Republican Party Chair Tom Del Beccaro. On set, gentlemen, thanks for being here. Tom, I'm going to start with you on inflation. Trump has made it clear, drill, open up the energy. It all starts there. Harris, according to the AP, has said nothing about it since assuming this new role.
And she won't have much to say about it because she doesn't have any background in economics. She's never had a real job in the real sector. She's never owned a business. And I remember from my debates with her that economics and foreign policy are in her strong points. So don't look for that. This is going to be, if she gets her way, the most superficial campaign in history, where she gets to read off a teleprompter. She is reading off a teleprompter and giving a eulogy. She's giving a eulogy off of the teleprompter. How insincere is that? And that will be what this campaign will be like.
And Robert, before I get to you, we do want to show on the screen right now the prison swap with Russia. We have some breaking news is happening right now, I'm told. If we punch up video, we do. You'll see it there. Okay, happening. You see him walking off off a jet right now, and they are officially returning home. That is in Moscow, meeting with President Putin, some of the Russians that we had to return in exchange. Again, going down at nighttime in Moscow right now. Okay, back to the discussion, though. Robert, I want to let you chime in on inflation. Kamala Harris, according to the AP, hasn't mentioned it yet. It is the biggest issue, according to voters. What say you?
I think she needs to mention it. We have to talk about the fact that inflation is down 64% since 2021. Last month, we had negative inflation, and that we are now at 2.9% online for our 2% GDP goals. And this idea that drilling in America will bring down inflation is lunacy. What did Joe Biden's energy policy have to do with inflation in Great Britain, in France, in Russia, in Turkey, in Indonesia? It's a ridiculous statement that is easily disproven. The fact that the Biden-Harris administration, along with Chairman Powell, did the work that would need to be done on interest rates in order to break the back of double-digit inflation, just as Volcker did in 1980. I think it's an extremely important policy she needs to highlight to the American people, in addition to the record low unemployment for 24 consecutive months, in addition to the record economic growth that we've experienced over the course of the last several years. The Biden-Harris administration is the envy of the world, as opposed to the Trump administration, which is run by a game show host and a novelist, as opposed to people with serious gravitas in these issues of economics and foreign policy.
Tom, I see you shaking your head. No, I don't think, gentlemen, I'm going to get you to agree on this. We're going to switch topics here. Another big one, the border, illegal immigration. I want to bring this up. This just happened over the weekend. A man was arrested in Virginia, and he was in the country illegally from El Salvador, according to ICE. The victim in this was a mother and a grandma, Melody Waldecker. Again, carjacked, run over, and killed by this guy in her car. This stuff with the illegals, it keeps happening. They come through illegally, Tom. Is she the one to fix the border?
Certainly not. In fact, she has already said through her campaign, not personally in front of reporters, but she has said through her campaign that she's going to continue the Biden policies. Okay? The Biden policies allow people to come over. He's been lying about the number of people coming over, saying it's less than when he took office. That's false. America can see the pictures and the loss of American lives related to it. That and inflation are two big issues on which the Democrats have no answer. And by the way, energy prices make up a huge factor in the CPI. So to say that somehow inflation isn't affected by energy, I hope you guys keep saying that.
Robert, Kamala has a new ad out touting her, what she calls her own border success. Your thoughts? We got about a minute.
No, absolutely. We can look. The report was issued this morning saying we have 5 consecutive months of reduced border crossings because of the Biden executive order. We actually are down below the numbers we saw in the year 2020 before Biden took office. As you look at the facts on the ground, Republicans have walked away from immigration compromises. The McCain-Kennedy in 2005, the Schumer compromise in 2013, Obama compromise in 2015, Durbin-Rubio in 2018. You had the reconciliation bill in 2021 and the Langford compromise in 2024. They've walked away from every single deal for 25 years. President Biden finally took executive action. They finally got it under control.
People would dispute that, but we got to leave it there. Gentlemen, Robert Patillo, Tom Del Beccaro, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being civil. That's what we do here at Newsmax. We like to try and just have open dialogue, let everybody be heard.
All right, take care.